Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you. And today we're going to encourage you. I have a great friend of mine, Jeremy Williams, one of the top coaches up there in the Houston area. He's going to drop massive value for you today. So I'm going to tell you ahead of time, get out your pen, get out your paper, because you definitely want to take some notes. And you know it, whatever you write down, you retain over 50% of it. So Jeremy, man, welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, brother. How you doing this morning?
Daniel, doing great. Honored to be here and excited about sharing with your audience and hopefully move somebody today in a direction they need to be moved.
Well, you got the crowd. Look, you got the crowd going wild already. They're cheering for you. So, man, I know the amazing person you are, Jeremy. Do me a favor. Introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show so the audience can know who is Jeremy Williams.
So I'm a husband, father, a man of faith. I've been in the business world since about 2001, graduated from Texas A&M University. We didn't have a great football season this year, but that's okay. We're always rebuilding, and that's what we know as Aggies. There's always next year. Went into the nonprofit world, worked for the YMCA of Greater Houston. I spent a couple years doing that, and my wife and I bought our first house using a real estate agent with Keller Williams. And in the process, he said, Jeremy, I think you would make a great agent. And so I took those words to heart. And 6 months later, with $5,000 to my name, and that's it, jumped off the cliff and went into selling real estate. First couple weeks, sold my first home, got both sides, double-sided it, sold it to the neighbors who moved in their mother-in-law, and it was a good thing. And I thought, this is going to be really easy. And it was another 6 months before I had my next sale. So I realized this is something I'm going to have to develop a skill set and be able to learn in time, and that it was going to take work, and it was going to take hard work. I sold for 6 years. I was pretty successful in that, built a nice business, was tapped by leadership within Keller Williams, and made my first move to an office across town. If you're familiar with the Greater Houston area, it was in the Memorial area. And I ran an office there. That's when I was introduced to coaching back in 2010. And so I coached and recruited for several large brokerage offices across the Houston area, the Woodlands and Kingwood, Texas, where I reside. And so I did that while coaching and really enjoyed the coaching aspect of the business. Went and did some expansion work with a team out of Portland, Oregon. I did that for about 6 months, and we had Hurricane Harvey, which became Tropical Storm Harvey, and it just sat right over the top of us, dumped 52 inches of rain. About 20% of the market area that I lived in was under 3 to 8 foot of water.
Wow.
By God's grace, we didn't flood, yet it changed everything in regards to what I was building as a real estate team. So I went from 15 agents one day to nobody the next day.
So let me
I had
ask
to
you
make a
this.
decision.
You said you said this word, right? You said jump off a cliff. Why would someone go to college, A&M, get their degree, and then all of a sudden you made a decision to jump off the cliff? Tell us that, because tell us more about that, because I think right now you can't be scared. I believe you can't be scared to jump off the cliff. What drove Jeremy Williams to jump off the cliff? Because that really stood out to me when you said that.
Yeah, so it's taking that leap of faith, right? We read about that in Scripture, having faith, and it was one of those faith things. It was one of those things I was called to do. It was innate in me. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was a master plumber. My grandparents were entrepreneurs. They had an antique shop in Wimberley, Texas, for many years, and their parents were entrepreneurs. And so it just felt right. And, the timing, you never know if it's the right timing or not until you take that step out. And I believe there's never a coincidence when you do things like that. There's a reason that you're stepping into that. That doesn't mean that it was easy and that it was successful right away. Yet in time, if I look in hindsight, best decision I ever made. Now, why did I go to college? I wanted to go to college, and there was a lot of things. I do not regret getting my degree at all. I got a degree in kinesiology, and sports management was my emphasis. And so that's how I got involved in the YMCA. And I don't regret any of that, because all the things that I learned in that time, I just took those skills and that knowledge and adapted it to what I was going to be doing in the future.
What did you learn about yourself that moment you decided to jump off the cliff? Right, it kind of definitely sounds like you got the entrepreneur spirit in your blood. I think of my son, right? He just graduated from Texas State, and he called me. He goes, "Dad, I don't think I want to be a teacher anymore. What do you think?" And I said, "Well, it's not my decision to make, Jay. It's your decision. I'm just, all I ask you is that whatever you do, you need to finish this last semester of school, whatever you want to do, son." So he did. But he has that entrepreneur spirit, I think, because he was around me, and I always do sales. I did sales for 20 years, ran organizations, and right, jumped off the cliff, like you say. I like that analogy, but it's like he kind of saw that behavior modeled to him, and just the thought process that goes in that. He goes, "I want to try this." So I definitely agree with that, right? The beautiful thing about that is that when you see it role modeled, the behaviors in action, I think it gives somebody more faith, more courage to go out there and do it. And you're like you said, your grandparents, your father did it. He was a master plumber. But the question that I want to ask you for the audience is, what did you learn about yourself once you jumped, right? You said it wasn't as easy. There was definitely some character building there. What are two or three things that you learned about Jeremy Williams that maybe you can give to our audience that are that they're probably going to experience once they decide to jump off the cliff?
I think one of the things I learned about myself, and I kind of already knew, yet this was the test of that, was not to necessarily have a safety net. And not everybody is cut in that way. A lot of people that step into business, they might do it as a side hustle for a while and build up some income, and get it to a place where it could either replace their income or exceed it. And at that point, I didn't have a safety net. So the only option at that time was to go put in the work. And I've always worked better that way. I've always worked by being in the corner and finding a way to fight myself out of it. And so that was one of the things I learned, was not providing myself the safety net, having the faith, and knowing that I had to go put in the work. Like, I couldn't just have the faith and say, "Okay, God, provide for me, I'm here." It was one of those things that knew I had to do my part too, and go put in the work, whatever that was going to be. One of the other things I learned about myself is I'm naturally introverted. And so I realized that in order to be successful in the sales world, I had to be a chameleon at times. So I had to be the person that would go out and network. And what I found in doing that over time is putting myself into those situations, into those environments where it pushed myself outside of my comfort zone. I got better at it, and it became more natural. It wasn't scary anymore. There's no anxiety behind it. I could walk into a room now, 1,000 people, and it wouldn't bother me. Just because
So at first it
pushed
did.
myself.
At first it would bother you.
At first, it bothered me, or
Yeah.
no?
Did it? I'm
Oh, at
asking you.
first, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I wasn't the type of person, even though I was in an environment where I had about 500 different volunteers that I worked with. I had 5,000 participants in the youth sports program. I ran, the weight room and the fitness facility. Even though I was around all those people, that wasn't necessarily natural for me. So now I had to put myself, if I wanted to grow, I identified that I had to push myself into an environment that forced me to grow. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone.
Yeah, I
Happens
love
when
what
you
you're
step
saying,
out of it.
because, ladies and gentlemen, listen to what Jeremy's saying. Write this down. This is the other first thing. What are you making excuse? What are you right now making an excuse about? You're making excuses. Maybe you're that person listening to this episode, and you're saying, "Well, Daniel, Jeremy, I'm not a people person." What's it? It's an excuse. You're making an alibi. Or, right, I don't like to be around people. Listen to what Jeremy said. Jeremy's an introvert. He recognized that, but he had to challenge himself and go do those things that brought him discomfort, those things that made him nervous at first, and now it's easier. Let me ask you this: why do you think people avoid that? I mean, I love that. Thank you for being totally transparent, right? You know your personality type. You're an introvert, but you still went out and did it. Why do you think so many people don't go out there and just do that. I mean, it sounds like an easy step to do, but I can tell you just in coaching people myself, sometimes it's more, it's bigger to them than what it is to us. But why do you think people don't just go out there and, you know what, I'm an introvert, I'm going to get over this, let me go do it. Instead, they say, no, you know what, I'm not a people person, Daniel. It's not for me.
I think it happens because they don't realize what they're fully capable of. They've you talk about John Maxwell and the lid. They are their own lid, and they don't realize the impact that they could make in the lives that they could change, the income that they could make, the opportunities that they're not stepping through the doors. They're wide open for them, and I think they just don't realize what they're truly capable of. And sometimes that takes coaching to get that out of them. Sometimes it takes a life event for that to happen. But it all comes down to a choice, really, at the end of the day. It's making a decision. And sometimes people don't like to make the tough decisions. Yet, the only way to progress, the only way to grow, the only way to achieve the things that you want is at some point you have to make a decision.
People are just, it seems like people sometimes are just scared to make that decision. Going back to my son, he called me, Jeremy, and he was like, Dad, well, he was trying to, when he told me about not wanting to be a school teacher anymore, he goes, well, what do you think, Dad? I'm like, well, it's not my decision to make. He goes, well, you're the one paying for the school. I'm like, yeah, but it's not my life. I mean, it's you. Like, I'm not going to make that decision. And he pressed me like 2 or 3 times. And I said, look, son, I love you no matter what you do, but I'm not going to make the decision for you. You need to make this decision, how you want to move forward. And he was like, all right. But it's like you're saying, right? And he made a decision. And after he made it, I supported whatever decision he made. And I think people need to understand not everybody is going to agree with the decisions that you make. And sometimes, I don't know if you experienced this, but I remember when I started my business going on 5 years ago already, not everybody's going to support your decision. They're going to think you're crazy. Did anybody around your family think like, what are you talking about, Jeremy, right? You just went to A&M, one of the best schools in the nation, and you're going to do what and do what and huh? Right? I mean, did you get that kind of feedback or resistance from close family members?
Um, not necessarily close, because my family's
Well, just
pretty
for
much
people
for the
around
most
you,
part
right?
entrepreneurs,
Yeah,
but
just
there
from
are some people in the near circles that were questioning what I did. And obviously the company that I was with, the organization that I was with, was questioning my decision for leaving. And I get that. They make an organization that really, they're a corporation. Um, they make a large investment in you, and they want to keep you around. They want to keep talent around. Yet it was a decision, again, a decision that I had to make for myself. It wasn't a decision that they could make for me. And going back, one other thing on decisions is people don't want to make decisions necessarily because of the accountability that may come with it. They'd rather it be somebody else's fault. They'd rather it be just like your son. Like, if he decided to go do something else and he comes back, he's like, Dad, why did you tell me to do that? Like, I should have just been a teacher. And they don't necessarily want the accountability that comes around making decisions. And going to the growth conversation, in order for things to happen, you have to make decisions, and second, you have to fail, and you have to fail again and again. And what happens over time is you get better at failing, you get better at the rebound, and that's how you grow. Yet it all comes rooted back to them being able to make a decision and then being accountable to the decisions that they make.
Yeah, man, I love the conversation we're having. And think about that, ladies and gentlemen, what Jeremy's saying. Listen to the word he said. He said you have to rebound. And no, not a basketball rebound as you're taking notes out there. How strong is your bounce back, right? How strong can you rebound from just maybe things not going your way? Maybe how fast can you rebound from just bad news? Whatever it may be for you, it's inevitable. Things are going to happen. And so many times in life, we want things to be easy. And I love what Jeremy started off in the beginning, how you said, it's like we're both believers, but it's like we still got to go out there and do the work. We got to put in the reps. And people are going to close doors on you. People are going to laugh at you. People are going to do whatever they do. But you can't let that deter you, right? You're being fortified. It's called fortification. Fortification is a preparation for the next level of life, for the next level of business. So where are you avoiding all this in your life or your business? Maybe you're not happy with your job anymore right now, but the fact that the oven's heating up and maybe God's pushing you out to go to a different company or a different position, you're fighting it because you're comfortable with it. Well, you're hurting yourself because God has something bigger for you. And like Jeremy said, now he can walk into a room. He didn't enjoy going out there and networking, but he learned it. It became a skill, and we can all learn a skill. So what are two words of wisdom or two words of advice that you can give the audience, Jeremy, that they're hesitant, right? They know they know right now that mother eagle is pushing them out of the nest like they're the eaglets. They're taking out all the feathers, all the comfort, and now they're getting poked, but they're tolerating the very thing that they hate now. And now they've outlasted the season, and they know the season is over. Talk to that person and give them two words of wisdom or encouragement that they can just know that, hey, you can do this.
So there's two. One is, and they're counterintuitive to each other, and I'll explain. So one is, don't give up on pursuing your dreams. And the other is, know when it's time to quit. So let me talk about the first. So don't give up on your dreams is, we only get one opportunity at this thing called life. God has blessed us with, he's blessed my life, and I know he's blessed your life, Daniel. He's blessing all these lives with the opportunity to be something great. And I see a lot of times people will squander that by not putting themselves out there or pushing themselves to go and pursue that dream that's really important. So don't give up on that. Go after it. Even if it's taking a small action on it today, those small actions will start to build. Those wins will build to become big wins in time. One day you'll look back and you'll wonder how you got there. And it was just being consistent, intentional in your actions every single day. So don't give up on it. The other side of it is know when to quit. If you're out there and you're pushing it and you're not hitting your targets or your standards, and you're realizing this is not what I've truly been called to, and now God's calling me over here. And that happens. I see it all the time. I had a coaching client that went from one real estate organization to another organization at a very high level. And he got over there and realized that's not where I need to be. And he ended up becoming a pastor and starting a coffee roasting shop in Arkansas. He went and leased a gas station, converted it, and now he's ministering to people in this place. So he had this idea, his passion was real estate, and he kept pursuing it, kept pursuing it. But he was okay to say, you know what? I need to step away from this because God's calling me here.
Yeah.
And really, really powerful. His life story is amazing.
I love what you say, right? Because as kids, we hear this, right? We hear winners never quit. But think about what Jeremy just said, ladies and gentlemen. We hear that and we take it to heart like it's set in concrete and stone. Winners never quit. But that could be a bad thing too, because there comes a time, right? I heard this. We went to a conference, and one of my coaches said, "Winners know when to quit." Sometimes winners know when to quit, and it's like you just know that season's over, and like you're that gentleman that became opened up a coffee shop. You just right. So many times we listen to the people around us so much. Winners never quit. Winners never quit. Well, yeah, but there's wisdom in that also, where winners know when to quit, because you can't, right? You're not going to kill yourself or do something that if God's anointing is not on it or God's grace isn't on it, you're not going to make it. I've been reading this book, and it's been really opening my mind to just really a different consciousness, right? And it's been really helping me. But when is a time maybe you've experienced that, Jeremy, where you're like, we listen to that old saying, right? Winners never quit. Like, maybe I should have quit that a long time ago.
Yeah. So, it was in the leadership role with the organization that I was with. It was the largest real estate company, and still is the largest real estate company in the world. And I had moved around to some different leadership opportunities, and they were great. They provided well for my family. I enjoyed the relationships that I built. I had an opportunity, I think we'd ended on that as I was going through my progression. There was a team in Portland that I went with, then Harvey happened. And there was an opportunity to keep going and to keep the foot on the pedal and to keep moving forward. And yet I had this calling, this soft, still voice in the back of my head that said, Jeremy, that's great, yet I've prepared something for you over here. And that's when I launched my coaching program back in 2017. And I realized at that point it was okay not to do the other. It hurt some relationships, it hurt some friendships. It changed a lot of things in my world, yet I knew those changes had to happen in order for me to pursue what I was called to do.
Love it, man. So many times, right? It happens to where we get in the habit of saying yes because we're growing our business, we're growing our career, whichever it may be for you, ladies and gentlemen, out there listening to this. And we get we get accustomed to saying yes, and it's okay to say no. And the reality is this, Jeremy, because I've experienced this, right? I'm a total extrovert. I love people. I'm a people person, and sometimes it hurts when you lose some of those relationships. But I'll tell you, to your point exactly, sometimes when you start saying no or maybe not, people say, why not? Right? And it's because God's taking you somewhere else. What have you done for yourself to hear just that voice, right? That intuition, the voice of God saying, son, and go left instead of right. What's something that you do to what's a practice that you do just to really be intuitive with that?
I think it's discernment, which comes through wisdom. You know, if you go and read the book of Proverbs, I think that's the best. There's a bunch of business books. I even wrote a business book, yet the best business book in the world is Proverbs. You can learn so much wisdom from that. And I think just age and experience and the failures that I've had is that my discernment has grown over time. And the most important thing, though, is just realizing this business that I'm running is not mine ultimately. Yes, I'm a vessel and it works through me, and it's God's. Everything I put at his feet, and he'll provide the answer. Sometimes not the answer that I like. Sometimes I might rebel against that and do it my own way, and God comes back.
Not you, man. I don't see you as a rebel.
Oh man, we could talk. We'll get some bourbon and we could talk about being a rebel.
Oh,
Yeah, it's one of those things that constantly putting at his feet. There's three questions I ask myself every day: what did I do well? What did I do not so well? And what am I going to do better tomorrow? And in those three questions, I hear God every time, and he's like, Jeremy, you did this great today. Congratulations. Jeremy, you didn't do so well here. You really messed this one up. Sometimes he's like, you need to go fix that. And then he gives you the answer for what you need to do next. Yeah, to keep going. And so I would say putting it at his feet first and foremost, and then just discernment over time and learning, when to say no. I coach my people that no is the most profitable word you're ever going to learn.
yeah.
When we say yes to everything, we're saying no to something else. It could be no to our finances. It could be no to our wealth. It could be no to our health. It could be no to our family. Every time we say yes, there is a consequence of no. And so no is the most profitable word you can learn. Second most profitable word you learn is next. And that's been a big one for me over the years is, I'll have a client that lets me go, or, I'll have something that doesn't work out. And I just say to myself, it's okay, next. God will put the people in my path that need to be there. He'll take care of that.
I love that. I love what you're saying because so many of us, and I was victim to this because I played the victim on this, is we lose a client and we think that the client is the source. The client is just a resource. And it took me a while to learn this. I'm glad you brought that up because we lose a big speaking gig, we lose a big opportunity, and we're like, man, what happened? And it's like, but when you think that client or the business that you're doing, that organization, or maybe you're coaching or speaking, whatever it may be for you, they're not the source, they're just the resource that God is using. And for me, Jeremy, when I shifted that perspective, I said, okay, because sometimes this is what happens is right, as God's sending us and we're growing, right, and not just growing but maturing. He goes, well, I can trust Jeremy with more, I can trust Daniel with more. Well, in order to get rid of that, and in order to go to the next level, right, I've noticed that as that season for that client's over, the next one that comes in is they pay you more because they see more value in you because they just have a different way of thinking. And for what you were coaching 2 or 3 clients for, now you're coaching one client and you're like, see, and you were fighting this. But we're so used to like, no, hold on, hold on, hold on. Does that make
Yeah,
sense
well,
what
I
I'm
think,
saying?
yeah, it does. And, it clears the way for the greater. And I also think he clears the way too, because the impact you needed to have on their life has already happened. And God says, "You've good and faithful servant, you've done your job. Now I need to put them over here because this is what's going to help them move to the next level." And that might not even be in coaching. That could just be they go to a training, or maybe they're rekindling their marriage, getting counseling, or maybe they just need to be by themselves for a while. And any one of those is okay. So yes, he clears the way for the greater, yet he also clears the way to allow those people that I've impacted to go out and do their next step.
Yeah, I love what you're saying, and it's so true. So, ladies and gentlemen, think about what we're talking about. Do you see things as your source or as your resource? I want to encourage you, as me and Jeremy are talking about this. Stop seeing your job as your source. That's your resource. That's God working through your job to bless you, to help you and your family. And if we think that that job is the actual source, you're hurting yourself, because something greater, like Jeremy said, it comes along, and we're scared to move because we think that that is our source, and it's not. It's your resource. So understand the difference between what is my source and what is my resource, and understand that it's okay to say no. Like Jeremy said, what are you saying yes to constantly that that no, right? And but the beautiful thing is Jeremy just gave us the wisdom of what to do when it's no, and that season may be over. Well, okay, what's next? And you have to ask yourself that question, because one thing I realized, Jeremy, is I love the three questions you ask yourself, just because you ask yourself on a daily basis. Most people don't know how to think for themselves, so yet they never ask themselves their questions. I always say this, right? The quality of your life, the quality is of your business is based on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. And I realize that most of my clients, most people that I go coach at, or organizations, they never ask themselves any questions. So yet your subconscious mind, your own thinking never comes up and gives you the answer, because you think it's maybe you just never been taught that process of thinking, or problem solving. But most people never ask themselves any questions at all.
Yeah, I think some of the biggest challenges in the world right now could be solved if we could focus more on just critical thinking. I think critical thinking's out the window. A lot of it's just responsive. I'm going to respond to that. I'm going to respond to that. And you don't slow down to take the time to ask yourself the questions. Or, I remember one of my mentors always told me, hey, if you're going to write an email to somebody and it's going to be one that maybe creates some tension, it's like, write the email, go home, read it again. You're probably just going to end up deleting it. Don't send it. And it's asking yourself the question, is that really going to serve me well or not? Is it really going to serve how they perceive my faith? Right? Jeremy says he's a person of faith, yet he just sent me this email. There's a great responsibility with that. And so I think a lot of things could be solved if we just spent more time in critical thinking. And if you were to go back in the education system and teach the basics, and teach a course on critical thinking where you get yourself to ask powerful questions to yourself, so many of the answers lie inside of us. You look at all the great inventors, the creation of the light bulb, all those different things. And a lot of those people, they weren't going out, they weren't sourcing this information. They were asking themselves really powerful questions. The answer was inside.
Yeah, I love that. So let me ask you this, Jeremy. What is the best business advice that you've ever gotten that really made a difference for you? What is the best business advice that you've ever received?
So I had a mentor. He was the one that brought me into the real estate industry. And it was one of those typical Houston, Texas days in the summer, 104 degrees. You had to change 2 times before you got out to your car. And he walked me out to the corner. And at that time, I thought you had to be in a full suit, tie, and I was dressed to the nines. Got out to the corner of this busy intersection out in front of the office, and he said, "I want you to just stand here for a moment." And so it's one of those moments where you're like, okay, he's trying to teach me something, yet I'm really distracted by the heat. So we're standing there. About 5 minutes goes by, and he goes, "All right, what did you learn?" And I said, "It's hot." And I said, and everybody was looking at me from the cars, probably wondering why I was standing here. He says, "No, think about it." He said, "Every one of those cars that passed was an opportunity for you to do business with them. He said, how many cars passed you? And I was like, hundreds. And he says, and every one of them probably own a house or rent a house. I said, probably. They wouldn't be in the car more than likely. And he says, you got to open your mind up to the opportunities that are right in front of you. People look for opportunities and they search for opportunities, and the opportunities are right in front of them. So, my advice is not to go out and seek wide and far for the opportunities. Look what's right in front of you.
Yeah. Wow. And it's so true. Think about it. I mean, what I get from that, what you just said, is we've kind of followed each other some on Instagram, and then you did a post, and I'm like, reach out. Sometimes we just don't want to like, no matter what type of business, and I would like your perspective on the right type, what type of business you're in. It involves you getting out of your comfort zone and making a phone call, sending an email, making a text, or whatever it may be. In our case, I sent you a message on Instagram. And look, like we've been having great conversations, and you never know what this opportunity could lead to down the road, however it may be. But it's just like you got to make that connection at some point. And so many times we're just, for whatever reason, we're closed-minded to it.
100%.
What is the best business advice that you give out?
I think it's that don't give up and know when to quit. And they're kind of polar opposites, yet I think especially when I'm coaching, is I want to be very honest with the people that are in front of me. I want them to own their decisions. I ask more questions than I talk. So while I give advice, I steer away from guiding them or steering them. I want them at the end of the day to take full ownership in the decisions that they make, be accountable to those, and know how to, going back to the basketball analogy, how to rebound. And it's funny because if you look at basketball and the stats that they track, one of the stats they track the greatest is the rebounds. Why? Because it gives you second chance opportunities, third chance opportunities, right? So when you rebound, it's just setting you up for greater things. And so that's the advice that I give my people.
I love it, because I was just going to do a live on this the other day, and I just didn't get a chance to do it because I was traveling. But so many times we get stuck in our feelings. So many times we get stuck in our feelings, and then the longer we sit there and we get in our feelings, and we have that self-pity, that rut gets deeper and deeper. And you don't want to be there, ladies and gentlemen. Rebound from that. There's no utopia, right? There's no utopia, but just know that everything that you go through, it's to A, mature you, and B, build your character. And you're never going to become that businessman or businesswoman that God wants you to be if we're stuck in our feelings. And because it's a sense of being selfish. Would you say that, Jeremy? Right? I think it's just you're selfish to where you're just thinking about you. But no, when you realize, like, okay, there's somebody out there that needs Daniel or Jeremy. Get over yourself, because I need to keep going because somebody out there needs my help.
Yeah. So, if you look at the coaching wheel, we're all programmed in some way, from past experiences, our personal experiences, the environment that we're in. There's some sort of programming that's there, which leads to the way that we think. And then the thinking leads to our feelings lead to our actions lead to results, and those results are either going to change your programming and set you on a different course, or it's going to reinforce the programming that you have. So it could be positive, it could also be negative. And I agree that people either get stuck in their feelings, or a lot of times they get stuck in their thinking, which initiates their feelings. And so until they can change their thinking, they're not going to be able to change their world and what they go after. And so I really encourage people that are on here, you have to start with changing your thinking, which is going to lead to the way that you feel. And that feeling is going to hopefully drive you into action. And so there's that saying, ready, aim, fire. There's a lot of people out there that are like, ready, 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 aim, aim. Oh, I got to go back to ready, 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 aim, fire. And sometimes you need to get to the point where you just say, you know what, I'm going to fire, and then I'm going to aim, and then I'm going to go. And
Boom! I love that.
go back and be able to ask those questions again. What did I do well? What did I not do so well? What am I going to improve on?
Well, I got a better solution for the thinking. You want to hear it?
Yeah, shoot.
What, man, ladies and gentlemen, you got to go out and get this book today here on Amazon. What's the name of your book? Tell us about your book. I want to spend the last couple of minutes on your book. So if you want to change your thinking, if you want to get out of your feelings, you got to soar, baby. So tell us, when somebody goes and they buy your book right now and they get it on Amazon, what are they going to take away from the book? Share your book with us if you don't mind.
So the book is Survive, Scale, Soar. It was a passion project of mine. It was a goal of mine to always write a book. And so after some pressing from some coaches saying, hey, you need to get up and do it, stop putting it off. I just cranked down. It took me about a year to put it all together. And it was some of my thoughts based on personal experiences, some of my coaching clients and the experiences. I've booked over 12,000 one-on-one coaching hours since 2010. Some experiences with business people that are out there. So the things that I've observed that have made people successful. And I give seven different things in here that I believe will help change your world. And that's getting clarity, not worrying about the others that are around you and what they're doing or saying, knowing that it takes work. We talked a lot about that today. Failing faster, how to be the turtle. And that goes back to the turtle in the hare, and we won that race. We know who did. How to get outside your comfort zone, which we talked on a little bit today, and then understanding the power of leverage. And that's leverage in your personal life and leverage in your business life. So some of the things that I've put together over the years that have helped me be successful and helped many others be successful.
So I'll end with this question. When it comes to your book, how do you soar, right? You survive, you scale, and then you soar. Talk to us about the soar part.
Soar could be external or internal. It could be you soar externally by your finances and your wealth building and relationships that you have. And it could also be internal, as in growing your faith and your walk with Christ. And so soar can be internal or external. And it goes back to the whole reason that I started this. And that was having that calling to step out and be able to impact people through a business that's taking great care of myself and taking great care of my family. It's given me amazing opportunities, and it's given me the ability to grow my finances and my wealth. Yet it's also given me the ability to impact people that have gone out and done the same, if not greater than what I've achieved. And it's pretty powerful because you just see the butterfly effect. And that's what it's all about.
I love it, right? And to your point exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to an end of this episode, where are you not soaring? Think about what Jeremy said. You got to soar in the inside before you can soar on the outside. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And maybe you're not soaring in your finances, like you said. Maybe you're not soaring. You don't see that manifestation, that life that you've been longing for, that business, your business hasn't grown. Well, maybe you haven't dealt with the stuff inside like you need to. Because if you're not soaring in the inside, I can promise you, you're not going to soar on the outside. And those are many things that I've worked on myself these past 5 years to really soar on the inside. Because if you feel empty on the inside, no matter what you have, what you obtain on the outside, you're going to feel empty. And Jeremy shared a lot of wisdom today. Jeremy, thank you so much, my brother. Let me ask you this before we end. What is this quote or scripture that you rely on in a time of adversity?
Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him. He'll make your path straight. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6.
I love that one. How do we get a hold of you? Somebody's listening to this or like, man, I want to talk to Jeremy. How do we get a hold of you, my friend?
Easiest way is just go to my website. It's www.redhawkcoaching, like the bird.com. Again, www.redhawkcoaching.com. And it's not a bird, it's a falcon. It's cooler.
Woo! Thank you so much for joining us, Jeremy, here on our show today, ladies and gentlemen. That's a wrap for this week's show. We'll see you next week with another guest on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. If you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, go to danielgomezglobal.com. That's danielgomezglobal.com. Do our entrepreneur assessment. We want to help you and book your complimentary discovery session with us for 45 minutes. It's my gift to you during the holiday season. And better yet, go to our website right now, themakingsofamillionairemind.com. get your course, get the copy of our book, The Makings of a Millionaire.com. I promise you, it's been changing thousands and thousands of lives, and our course has changed hundreds of lives already. And don't forget, last but not least, March 17th and 18th here in San Antonio, the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy. Sticker Shock has helped so many people grow their business, grow their finances. I want to see you here in San Antonio, March 17th and 18th. Until next time, we'll see you here again with another great guest on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show.
This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.